Bienvenidos, Hushamdeed, and welcome to another supplemental video tutorial for the Cisco Networking Academy Introduction to Python course. In this tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at Lab 2.1.4.9, where we're now going to be creating some additional variables, and they're actually already staged for us, but we're going to be using those variables to create a couple of equations that are going to convert miles to kilometers and kilometers to miles. Now, don't fret. The math has already been worked out. They actually give us some clues. So let's dive in here and take a look at Lab 2.1.4.9. You've got your objectives, and they give us the equation right here that 1 mile is equal to approximately 1.61 miles. Well, I looked this up, and we're going to use a different number here. You can use 1.61, and that's going to yield the same result, but I'm going to give you the actual out to 6 decimal places, what I found online, to go from miles to kilometers. And then the same thing, we're going to go from kilometers to miles. And it's the same principle that we're going to have 6 digits past the decimal place when we work that equation. Now, we're given the constraint of not changing any existing code other than what is indicated with the 3 pound signs or the 3 hash marks, and that's where we're going to drop the equations in. Now, we need to watch very carefully as to what's going on inside the print function and how we provide multiple arguments in here. Right? And you can see we've got a function inside of the print function. And so this is one of the first times we're seeing what's referred to as function composition, where we have a function inside of another function. And we've got the print function, and then we have another Python built-in function called round that is going to help us constrain the number of places past the decimal that we receive output for. So let's go ahead and dive in here. And they talk about function composition. And again, after we complete this lab, this should be the expected output. So again, miles to kilometers, very straightforward. We're simply going to go ahead and say miles, right? So what is the equation to convert miles to kilometers? Well, we would multiply the miles times 1.609344. And again, they rounded it to 6.1, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we're going to go ahead and go out a little bit further here, be a little bit more precise in the number that we're using. And these are easy to find. If you were to Google this information, you could find the equation to go from miles to kilometers, just like you could from kilometers to miles. And so let's say kilometers, and we're going to multiply that. And again, since we have more kilometers in a mile, right? Because when we go from miles to kilometers, we're multiplying it by, let's just round up and say almost 2, right? 2 kilometers per mile, it's 1.6. So we end up with more kilometers. So if we're going the reverse direction, we would anticipate that we're going to be multiplying it by 0.621. And again, something below the number 1, 371. Now, the question that learners will ask is, do I need the 0 there? Well, let's run it with both the 0 before the decimal place and then the 0 after. I should say, and then the 0 removed from the front. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get. We're looking for 738 is 11.88. You can see it rounded there nicely. And then 12.25 is 7.61. So very, very straightforward. Now, let's remove the leading 0. Now, I like the 0 in there. I think it's a little easier for me to read. And again, maybe your mathematical background, you like it like this a little bit better. Maybe you like it with the 0 in front. But irrespective of whether the 0 is there or not, we get the same answer. So again, this may come down to personal preference. I like the 0 in there. It makes it a little bit easier for me to look at and to read. All right, well, we've got it. That's it for this lab 2149. But they're asking us here, maybe try to write a different converter. All right, well, let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a print statement in here, and let's spice things up a little bit in lab 2.1.4.9. I'm going to say now we are going to convert dollars, or I'll say USD, to euros, right? So pretty exciting. We're going to convert dollars to euros. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, first things first, we need to know what that equation is going to look like. And so if I say, how many dollars do we have? Let's say, I'll just say USD cash, right? We'll create a new variable called USD cash, and I have $500 in United States dollars cash. And I want to convert that to euros. So let's say USD underscore cash underscore to euros, right? So now we're going to create this equation. So I first create the variable name USD cash, and I assign it the float data type, right? That's a float value because we've got the decimal place in there of 500. If I pulled it back like that, we'd be talking about an integer. But that is a float because of the decimal place. So USD cash to euros. Well, let's come out here. I've already pulled this up for us. So $1 is 0.923351 euros. So just shy of a 1-to-1 trade-off here. So if I was to type in 500 and hit enter, we would see that 500 US dollars is equivalent to 461.541 euros. And again, there's the euro number that we're going to use. And you can see it's being updated here rapidly, but we're going to go off of what we've got on the screen here. So 923098. Again, we're going to go out 6 decimal places past the 6 places past the decimal. So what is that equation going to look like? Well, it's going to be US dollars cash times, because we're converting to euros, and let me take one more peek at that, 923098. 0.923098. Now, I could do the decimal place, or I could precede it with the 0, right? So we've got the 0 in there. All right, well, let's go ahead and see what happens if I was to add a new print statement in here. And we're going to say that if you had, and I'm going to end it there, and we'll put out here the USD underscore cash. So it's going to say if you had $500, now a new string, that would be, and I'll put a colon here. Now let's put a comma, right? We're going to be adding these things up. Now I'm not going to round it initially. USD underscore cash to euros. And then we'll put one more comma in here, and then I'll say, and does euro have a, I'm curious here if euro has EUR. So we'll just go ahead and say EUR, and we'll do that. All right, now hopefully we don't have any typos in here. I think things look good. So let's clear the screen down here, the console on the bottom. Now let's run this again. And what do we have? If you had $500, that would be, excuse me, that would be 461.549 euros, right? And again, that 461.549 is represented in that variable, which we created with this equation, and then assign the result of that equation to that variable name. Or in other words, this variable is pointing toward that value. Let's check out over here. So 461.549, I think we're pretty close. 461.549, right on the button. But this isn't good enough. We want to round it down, and I want to round it to 2 decimal places, right? So we want to round it to 2 decimal places past to 2 places past the decimal. All right, let's clear the screen and let's see, do we get 461, what would it be, 0.54, I believe. Or okay, we're rounded to 0.55, right? So there we go, 461.55. And by using function composition, by using the round function inside of the print function, I'm able to go ahead and format my output a little more effectively here by saying you're going to get 461.55 euros if you exchanged $500. All right, well, let's go ahead and grab all of this, right? And we want to keep this because once we move away from this web page, it's going to be gone. And I'm going to kind of come out here and we're going to drop that in there. Let's squeeze this out a little bit so that we see everything here. And let's run it here and see what happens. So I hit F5, I click OK, and there we go. Everything prints out to the screen exactly as we had expected it would. And that is going to wrap up Lab 2.1.4.9. So we did a number of things here. We converted miles to kilometers. We then converted kilometers to miles, and we went so far as to create our own monetary conversion tool where we're converting dollars into euros. All right, well, that is going to wrap up Lab 2149. I hope you picked up some tips or tricks in here. Thank you again for watching. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I will see you in another video soon. Have a great day.